How's it going, guys? This is going to be the last tier list for our Warcraft Rumble minis, at least for now. This, of course, will be evolving as the meta changes, as new minis are released that might super hard counter others. Maybe they become a mainstay, and so we got to keep away from other stuff. What I will say, since we started doing these tier lists, like this was all pre-recorded a week or so ago, I've been playing with a lot of these minis, especially ones that you guys have been bringing up in the chat. I'm still feeling like 90% good on what we talked about. And this will be evolving as we get more experience with this game. But I'm loving this game. I actually love the Undead. I didn't like them at all. And then when I started building Baron Rivendare up in his last dungeon run and getting like really powerful Abomination out there, the Undead sold me. Maybe my favorite faction right now. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. All right, guys, we're back with the final tier list for the final family. We're talking about the Undead. Luckily, the smallest family, so don't worry. We won't talk your ear off too much on this one. And this family is super volatile. Some great hits and some super big misses. But let's start off with a bang. We're going to be talking about the Abomination, who I think we both think is arguably one of the best tank in the game, maybe. He's got a really interesting hook mechanic where he's pulling in ranged enemies. He does cleave damage, so he's got that AoE advantage. Insane health pool, and he's got some really interesting talents. So he can poison nearby enemies every 3 seconds. On deploy and at 50% health, he'll stun nearby enemies for 5 seconds. And he's got fresh meat. After hooking a target, deal double damage on the next attack, and that is double damage to the entire AoE swing. So when he pulls in ranged characters, he's also doing extra damage to melee characters. I just found this guy because the dungeon week we just had for the Undead. I finally have him leveled up. I started using him in PvP, and he's actually made some of my non-Undead decks because of that hook mechanic that he has. I'm going to be ranking this guy super high. Where you got Abomination for yourself?
I think he's the best tank in the game, 100% at a 6 cost.
Yeah.
He is 100% S tier in my eyes. The hook is insane. It destroys the issues with, oh no, there's the range unit back there just crushing me. Oh wait, come over here. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a scorpion. Get over here. And just and then Shank sends them straight to hell. It's insane. I love Abomination. I actually think maybe the AoE is my favorite just because it adds that extra damage to him, the extra poison. But again, you go half health, you go to the stun, you can't do anything, and then the double damage on the hook every couple seconds when you hook somebody. So you're guaranteeing the one shot on most range units. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with this guy. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I think he's got great talents. One thing I'd like to mention as well is that he will pull in the furthest range unit, I think. Like, we see him pulling in that troll guy right there with the range of 9. So he's not vulnerable to anything like that. Where you got this guy? I got this guy as maybe the only S tier tank.
100%. 100% S tier for me.
Oh yeah, and he's just amazing with Baron Rivendare too.
Baron Rivendare, my Tyrion deck, I use him as well as my tank in the Tyrion deck. Beautiful, love him.
Nice. All right, then we got the Banshee. So she is a super interesting mechanical character. Basically, she just possesses the soul of the nearby enemy. The level of the person she possesses will be the level of her, not the level of the enemy. So keep that in mind. You do want to actually level her up. And she's got some nice talents too. So she possessed targets. They detonate on death, damaging nearby enemies. The possessed targets gain bloodlust for 10 seconds. And my personal favorite, fully heal the possessed target. So if an enemy got through and he's super weak, or you're finally getting up to him and he's just cleared your wave and he's weak and you want him to be full life when you turn him back around, then that one's going to be the way you go. What do you think about your favorite talent? Let's start there.
I think my favorite talent is the explosion on death.
Okay.
Because how I use Banshee is I try to grab full health units.
Yeah.
Or units that aren't damaged a ton. You know, in PvE, it's something that like, oh, I just don't want to kill this, like the Rock guys in Blackrock, you know, because they just destroy me. I just like, oh, I don't feel like taking the time to murder this thing because I don't have anything available to me. Let me just snag it and just forget about it. You know, or a big tank or something gnarly. I try to grab in PvE. PvP aspect, you know, like I said, again, I'm trying to take a leader or somebody who's going to turn the tide for me in that aspect. So because of that, I usually don't really care if it dies because I'm just rolling backwards. You know, it's something I don't want to kill, something I don't want to deal with or can't deal with for that 4 cost. I try to keep around the same trades, but I definitely will take losses on the 4 cost if I'm in dire straits. You know, and I'm like, oh man, like I really need this to turn the tide for me. Because you can take over some fun things. You know, there's the Defiant Bandits hard level, and you can take over one of the two like big bandits that come at you. You know, which is a fun thing to do. Nothing like, oh wait, here comes the big super boss mechanic. Now it's mine. Congrats. Turn
Yeah.
around and murder everyone, please.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So again, kind of a niche use though. I don't know, maybe not super niche, but I mean, here, I don't know. I'd like, what is your experience and how do you feel?
So I use this character all the time. When I find a very hard PvE node, and
Mhm.
there's a always some sort of big mechanic coming at you, I throw my Banshee at it, and it tends to be like the node turner for me, where I am able to start winning all of a sudden. And then in PvP, like you said, I'll let a leader get to me. Oh, thanks, you threw your Sneed at me. He just walked all the way down the middle. Well, now I have Sneed, and he's walking down the middle for me, and those chests just respawn. So let's go. Or I'll steal an extra Baron Rivendare, and that's a whole problem for the enemy. I love the Banshee. What I will say is the enemy can like intercept you. Like all of a sudden, a kobold will just start outpacing that Sneed. He just starts lumbering up there, and then you got yourself a nice fat kobold you just spent 4 gold on. So that could be fun. I think she is niche, but she's better niche than what we've had in the past. I
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, to me she's B tier, but she's not just B tier.
Yeah.
She's high B tier.
High. Yeah. I think high B tier for sure because there are some places where, like you said, she is game defining in PvE. You know, and as if that's really what we're looking at, you know, that is great. And but again, skill cap issue, kind of the same thing with a huntress, right? You know,
Yes,
there's a skill cap there that you really have to master.
agreed. There's definitely a skill cap there. All right, moving on to the spell for the undead. That is going to be your cheat death. Not a not a bad ability. Pretty cool. I like the talent where the affected minis gain bloodlust but die when they affect. Because I'm normally doing this to Munisary to die anyway. So giving them bloodlust for the last row is nice. They also have affected minis are healed when damaging, so they get like a nice little drain. That's cool too. And affected skeletons resurrect at your base when they die. That is a very particular talent, I believe, as far as skeletons go. Have you used cheat death? I've used it in a couple surges. I've had some fun with it, but it's not something I would put in my deck, especially at a cost of 3.
Yeah, so cheat death is something I use in our favorite heroes deck or a favorite leader's army.
Okay.
And that's gonna be our Charga there. I don't remember her blade name, but yeah, the beast leader who we put in D tier, everyone in the first video of the series. I actually made a deck where everything's around the same cost and kind of evolves around raptors. I use cheat death in there when I have my full raptor pack going, and I have the perk on there for every raptor I deal more damage, right? I think it's like 10% or something insane, something stupid. And so when I'm running, you know, a bunch of raptors and I'm on something I really want to kill, like I want to get a base or an important fight, I'll throw cheat death on them just so I can keep that damage going and they just get that extra hit in. So again, though, it's super niche. That's really the only place that I use it, and I have found a good use for it. But I mean, that lady needs everything she can to make that deck run. Good lord, because the RNG on a 6 cost Cobalt still makes me want to hang myself.
Yep.
So yeah, so because of that, I think you know we talked about Banshee being kind of niche. I think this is a true niche perspective, and yeah, I mean C's fine if that's where you want to go. I also understand if we just put it in the D tier too, like it doesn't hurt my heart there.
I think I'm okay with C tier, mostly because
Hmm.
it's at least no delay. Like when you hit it, it's like Arcane
Yeah.
Torrent. Like it pops
So.
off.
Hmm.
All right, it's going to lead us to a nice siege unit that the AI likes to use against you in every single map, and that's going to be the Gargoyle. Gargoyle is a flying unit. It completely ignores everything except towers. It just goes to towers and it starts hitting it with his wings. It's got some talents: increases move speed by 33%, That's the Wing Buffet. It's got the Obsidian statue. On death, summon a statue with taunt. Lasts until destroyed, and the aerial superiority. Incoming damage from flying minis is reduced by 50%. I'm actually not sure which one I prefer here. The flying faster one is cool, but so is the reduced damage from flying minis, because if you do get to the base and they throw something like harpies at you, if you're mitigating that damage, get an extra hit off with the Gargoyle. Gargoyles hit for like 20% of a base's life.
So much damage.
Yeah.
I love the Gargoyle. I am crazy about the Gargoyle. It is so bloody tanky. I actually prefer the Find Flash faster because I want it to get on the base sooner.
Yeah.
So that's actually my preferred talent. And I use the Gargoyle in my Blackrock Flying deck as actually my main tank. The Gargoyle is my tank for that deck, and they do a phenomenal job at that. They get up on there and they just do so much damage. You cannot leave the Gargoyle alone. You can't.
Yeah.
Because if you do, it's going to absolutely tear through not one for your towers in PvP. I've seen it solo kill bosses for me. I mean, like, I'm all about, like, oh shoot, there's an opening, sneak a Gargoyle, let's go, and just yeet that thing and just let it go do its magic. I think the talent where it does not takes less damage from flying units is a little niche because there's a lot more ranged units than flying units in this game.
That's fair.
And so, yeah, so because of that alone, I don't love that talent. But yeah, but anything that I can scoot that thing in faster, I love the Gargoyle. I personally have it in A tier. It's up there with Raptors in me in my heart of hearts, and you guys know how much I love Raptors if you saw that Beast video. So yeah, I'm not sure, Dorky, how you feel. What experience have you had with the Raptors? I mean, not Raptors. Oh my God, that's how much I love them. I'm thinking about them all the time. Talking about the Gargoyle though.
The Gargoyle. I think the AI Gargoyle is A tier. I think our Gargoyles are B tier. I'll give low A tier for you, but he might be alone there, so he's gonna look like he's the best in A tier. But I'm good with that because if he reaches his destination, he starts doing 20% of the life of whatever he's hitting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely slap. I mean, the things like Mike Tyson on a tower, just crushing it.
Agreed. All right, then we got the Ghoul. This is an interesting little tank unit, costing 2 golds, and it feasts on enemies when they die, so he can heal up, which I think is really cool. That's that cannibalism trait there. So Bone Shield, Cannibalism grants armor for 10 seconds, Cannibalism grants bloodlust for 10 seconds, and deal 50% additional damage to enemies who are below 50% health. I don't know. I don't care for much of his talents. If I had to do one, it would oddly enough for me be Taste of Blood, because I just want to make sure that he's actually going to get the kill and not die, because he is pretty squishy as far as tanks go, being at that 2 cost, right? I know you love the Ghoul. You ride and die with Ghoul. So tell me about the Ghoul.
I do love the Ghoul. I love the Ghoul because he heals off the corpses of the enemies. And that is just beautiful thing to me, because where I use the Ghoul is I use him as a stall unit or like a slow tank. Like, he's not my primary tank usually if I'm running him. I have him in both my Undead decks. I run him in some other decks as well. And it's just like, oh shoot, there's something at my base. Boom. Easy. Drop a Ghoul. 2 costs. He's going to sit there. He's going to be fine. Because whatever dies, he's just going to eat its corpse. And it's slowly going to wobble its way up there. Or I'm making a big push. Oh shoot, let me throw a Ghoul. I just captured a thing. Let me throw the Ghoul down. 2 speed. He's probably not going to catch anything. But by the time the fight's going on, the Ghoul's going to show up. He's going to clean up whatever's left. And then he's just going to heal up from it, because he's already eaten. Now, the one thing I will say about the Ghoul is he will sit there and eat a corpse while being attacked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of annoying sometimes. But I am, excuse me, I'm a huge fan of the Ghoul. So it's kind of similar to the Null Brute as far as when you get that cycle, where you reduce the cost there and, make it cycle. It's about as tanky in my personal eyes. I think the Null Brute does have a bit more health than he does. But the Null Brute has Cleave. So you're trading Cleave for life, life gaining after it murders something. So it's one for another, but I think the Ghoul's phenomenal. I could definitely see though where it gets eventually pushed out of the meta, just because it is a bit it's a bit funky. You know, like it's not an easy oh yeah insta play, but it is a 2 cost tank, and I mean we only have 2 of those in my eyes that are worth running, and the Ghoul is one of the 2, and you don't need a talent either. Like you said, you can run that 2 cost tank right off the get. So I think in that early game, I think the Ghoul is a standout tank. And I think he does fall off a bit in the late game as you gain more talents, because you said the talents aren't crazy. You know, I definitely think the more damage at 50% is the better talent of the 3 for the Ghoul, just based on my experience. But I think a solid B tier for the Ghoul, you know, putting my biases aside a little bit and really just looking it out at Tim, is where I feel is a good spot for him to land.
Yeah, I'm good with that. He's definitely not bad enough to be C tier, so B tier I'm good with.
No. Hmm.
All right, Meat Wagon. So this is another siege unit. This one costs 1 less, but it's not a flyer. It does do AoE on the hit. It's super
Yes.
slow. It'll actually outrange towers, but it's susceptible to death. Anyway, it's got some talent. So every other attack summons a skeleton instead of dealing damage. If you are in range to attacks, you don't want to stop doing your attacks and put a skeleton out. That's just kind of weird. The fillet, I'm not going to try and say that word, increases the bombard range by 2. Well, we've already established it has the highest range in the game at 11. So you don't really need that. Like, it's already outside the range of towers. And then finally, gain fury. Now, I love the gain fury part. If you get this guy on a tower, when it has fury, it will destroy towers very quickly. With that said, super squish unit, very easy to deal with on the other end of things. I'm not too high on this thing. I could see it has a place, but I'm thinking this is going to be a very niche one.
Yeah, I mean, the it's nice, and the word you're looking for was turbucket, I believe. By
Thank,
the way,
thank you.
you're welcome, sir. You're welcome. A man of culture. Um, so yeah, yeah, because the 11 range is nice, but the AOE is nice, but it attacks slowly. You know, it's a slow attacker, and it's super squish. You put anything on that thing, it's gonna eat it alive. And yeah, you know, it does attack units as well as towers, which is nice. You know, so it's not just, but again, only ground units, so no rain, no air units. Yeah, you know, there's not a single point in my life that I'm like, I need to put the meat wagon in my deck.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's below niche even, because I don't want it.
Oh.
Like I'm not like, oh, it does something at 3 costs that nothing else does. I guess 100% I'd rather have the troll at 3, you know, every time.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're thinking D tier by the sound of it.
I'm thinking 100% D tier. Like I don't want it. I don't want to upgrade it. I don't want to look at it.
All right, so high D tier.
High high D tier. All right, let's go.
All right, the Necromancer. Necromancer is kind of an interesting character. So it summons skeletons in, and when those skeletons die, it'll just resummon them. It's elemental. It does single target damage on its range attack, which I guess is kind of fixed by the skeletons doing damage as well. On kill, you'll summon a skeleton. Summon skeletal mages instead of skeletons, so they're all doing range attacks, which is really nice. And then there's also the last talent, Breath of the Dying. On death, summon 5 skeletons. I mean, they die to a fart in the wind, though, the skeletons. So let's be real about that. Range is 7.5, medium speed. It's not bad, especially if this guy walks up to a tank, he'll kind of summon the skeletons in at a reasonable rate that the tank gets stuck there. Now the tanks will still eventually kill those skeletons and get to the Necromancer without taking much damage, but it kind of stalls enough for you to get other units there. I don't hate the Necromancer, but I don't like it either. What do you think?
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Necromancer. I think just because it summons the front line attached to it, right? Every time you are fighting with the Necromancer, he's gonna have people in front of him because he's just gonna keep summoning those melee units over and over again for you. You know, at 4 cost, like you said, it can stall very well. So again, it's great on offense and defense for that reason, because it does stall things out. It has decent single target damage at 895 DPS with 1164 base damage. So far as range single target damage, it does some of the best range single target damage in the game, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm not sure what it compares to at Jaina, but it's gonna be putting in that work for us while it's sitting back there. Yeah, it attacks faster than Jaina and does around the same damage. So because of that fact, as much as I love the gargoyle, I've seen it eat gargoyles alive. I've seen it eat harpies alive because it's got to have the little people out in front that eaten up before the harpies can get to him. So he can eat the harpies alive. He can hang with tanks, like you said, because he has that little meat buffer that slows him down. He's phenomenal in horde decks of something where you're trying to put out a bunch of units. He's going to continue to put them out for you. He's going to continue to push with you. I'm a big Necro fan. I really, really am. I use a lot of the Undead faction units as we go through this tier list. As I'm looking at them and thinking, there's like 4 or 5 of these units that I really enjoy a lot, and I play with in a lot of my decks for different reasons. Didn't even think about that coming in. But yeah, in my eyes, Necro is an A tier class for me personally, just because on what I've used, what I have had with him in the past. I'm not sure. You haven't had much experience with the Necro, what's putting a bad taste in your mouth?
Whenever I play against the Necro, I immediately
Mm-hmm.
nuke it with any sort of unbound unit, and then it's just
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, and that's understandable. A safe pilot will kill it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You even put a Worgen behind it, the Worgen's probably gonna murder it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that I can totally understand. That is definitely the Necro's fault. Is it doesn't have eyes in the back of his head.
You think A tier for this guy? I have a hard
Um,
time putting him in A tier with Banshee sitting in B tier.
yeah, and that's fine. I say we put him in B tier, Bob. Then I'm totally fine with B tier. He can be low B tier. I say put Banshee in front of Necro.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
down with that. I gave you Gargoyle.
You you did give me Gargoyle.
All right, Plague Farmer, a low cost of 2, range of 9, so it's got that nice long range. Can only attack ground units, which is super awkward. Like you're throwing pumpkins, but you should be able to throw them further than that. Some interesting talents. On death, summon a pumpkin. When touched, it poisons nearby enemies. Then Virulence, another talent. On kill, poisons enemies near the target. And then Splashing Pumpkins increases the range by +1 and double the splash area. So he is doing AoE with those throws at least. He's something.
He's something bad, is what
Yeah.
he is.
It's just not
Listen,
very good.
anytime I'm like, oh, a pumpkin rider, I'm like, oh wait, yeah, there's a flying version of him. It's called Bat Rider. Why would I want a pumpkin farmer, a plague farmer, when I can get a Bat Rider? Would rather have a flying version. Even take the loss on the range. I think Bat Rider is a 10 out of 10 better version of this character.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't have the bombard, which is super strange that he has a bombard, then
Hmm.
he'd be something to look at. But with the bombard, it's like, dude, what? Like
Yep.
it ain't it. It ain't it.
No, no, 100%. I think he's the second. Yeah, right there, second D tier, 110%.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, moving on to the last two. We got the Skeleton Party. So Skeleton Party is an unbound unit. Frosty Surprise for any location. Raises a squad of ranged and melee skeletons to assist with any skirmish. It's got some interesting talents. I took the wrong talent. This is the one where I took the Ritual of Rhyme. Summon 5 skeletal mages who guard the deployed location.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, with the range of 7, they just other ranged targets walk up to them and kill them outside of their range in one shot. So they end up just sitting ducks. And if you try and summon them in, they have a deploy time, so they just die by the time they pop up. The other things they have listed, they got 5 men. Summons a skeletal tank, rogue, priest, and 2 mages. Oh, that one sounds really fun. And then corpse run, gain +1 level for each deploy after the first. Oh, that's kind of cool. They can level them higher. I didn't know that. That makes me feel a bit better. But they cost 4. Have you played with Skeleton Party? Like, I've played with Skeleton Party a lot. I've now completely benched them until I can get rid of Ritual of Rhyme. So what are your thoughts on Skeleton
Yeah.
Party?
I've never really enjoyed them. I think for 4 costs, they're really high cost unbound, maybe the highest cost unbound at 4. And I feel like they get two-shotted. I remember in PvP there was the AoE towers. They like two-shot them
Yeah.
even with the party. So I actually have the party buff for mine. So that way they spawn with the whole squad, and I mean they get insta clapped. They really
Yeah.
really do. They're still skeletons. So just because there's a whole bunch of them doesn't make them any better. And for the 4 cost, they're not worth the cycle cost at that point. They're not worth the unbound cost. Where there's nowhere I can think of to throw this, and they're gonna fuck me. Yeah, well,
You're
there's
back.
nowhere I can think. Yeah, there's nowhere I think I can put skeleton party, and you can be like, oh yeah, here we go, skeleton party, and I'm just gonna use them. I'm gonna throw them down somewhere, and I'm excited to have them. Where there's a time where I need them. I don't. There's no place for them in this game in my eyes. I don't. I mean, I'm fine with throwing them in D tier again. Like it's
Hey, look, I'm gonna throw him in D tier just because I have Ritual of Rhyme, so I have the worst taste in my mouth. And I agree with you. The 4 cost with the deploy time where they just get killed before they pop up is a real problem.
yeah, it's a huge huge problem. I think put them in front of Meat Wagon though in D tier.
All right, I'm good with that. All right, that leads us to the skeletons, which is also an unbound unit, but this one costs 2. So these skeletons can arise anywhere on the map to distract enemies or claim a remote resource. So we got some talents here. We got the questing buddies. 1 skeleton gains armor, 1 gains resistance, 1 gains stealth. Okay. Then we have the cackle, gain taunt. Though they die in 1 shot anyway. And then exhume. If deployed near a tower or meeting spawn, deploy plus 2 additional skeletons. I don't hate that one because if you use them just to snipe a summoning stone, that's kind of cool. What's your experience with skeletons? Because for me, it's the exact same thing as the units we just had. They cost 2, but they get immediately just ripped apart. When I was trying to play with like an unbound army, like a heavy unbound army, I would throw in the whelps, I'd throw in the save, I'd throw in the skeletons. It didn't matter when I threw the skeletons in, whether I threw them in first, in the middle, if I staggered it and threw it at the end, they would die before they took a swing. So I have a bad taste in my mouth with these guys too.
Um, I think the first talent is the best talent for them, and because questing bunnies, because they can actually survive an AoE tower shot. I found that
Oh,
out. Yeah, so you can snipe the chest for 2 gold because of that, and I do use them in a few decks actually. I found some uses for them. They're actually a standard in my Baron Riverdale deck, surprisingly. Because of the aversa, because they're only 2 costs, and I get 3 skeletons. And with questing buddies, they're a bit tankier, and so they can take a little bit of a kick. Again, kind of like a back line, kind of like you say, all right, I'm gonna counter Necro. I'm just gonna put something behind them. They do that perfectly
okay.
when they're yeah when they're already engaged. I can drop them behind and either steal a chest or guard a deny gold or just kill some ranged units real quick. And I think the deploy time's probably the same with skeleton party, I believe, but it's just for 3 for 2 feels a lot better than 4 for 4 or 4 for 5. I think I don't even remember how many people the skeleton party summons because I literally used it and I was like, this is pointless.
Fair enough.
So I think they have a better spot for that just because you don't feel bad putting them on a 2 chest, and then if they get the chest, it's free gold. Like, all right, that didn't cost me anything to summon these units, and I denied them gold.
The
So I
denial is
think
nice. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for that alone, I think they're top at C tier based on what we have ranked.
I'm good with that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm good with that. All right, guys. So this is actually going to end our little tier adventure as far as family goes. We're going to we got some other content coming out in a little bit. We got some actual gameplay stuff going to be doing, showing off Barry Rivendare, who's a character I just started playing around with, showing off the Gnomerang dungeon, tackling it with the old Merc guy, which Skinny Boston is going to walk us through, and then I'm going to do one with Hogger that I'm having a lot of success with. And then we'll double back and do some talent tier lists. Maybe we'll do that by family too, maybe, or maybe we'll just do it one character at a time. because yeah, it's a thing.
These videos are long.
These videos are wild. They're long too. And I learned so much today when I was doing a beginner guide that I'm going to have out soon. I reached out to somebody who's like on the inside, and they knew so much things that I didn't know. For instance, did you know that there is a 20 quest cap per day, but that cap rolls over into future days until it reaches a total of 300? So you may never notice that there is a quest cap, but there actually is. Kind of
We need
crazy.
to be questing more.
Kind of crazy. Yeah, now we're just wasting resources now at this point.
We're just throwing them away, boys. What the heck are we doing, y'all?
That's it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this tier list. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you're thinking about us and this kind of information in the comment section below. And as always, stay happy, all day, have fun. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.